there, it's Sandee Sgarlata. Get ready to dive deep into incredible stories of people who've taken life's challenges and turned them into a roadmap to happiness. On this show, we're not just talking about overcoming obstacles. We're uncovering the real, gritty secrets to living a life filled with peace, joy, and genuine happiness. This is Happiness Solved. So let's get started, because happiness is a choice, and the choice is yours. Jim Fortin, I looked away for 2 seconds and I didn't realize the countdown stopped.
I'm here.
You're here. So great. So for the audience, we are so privileged today to have Jim Fortin, because he is the host of the top-ranked Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast, which is in the iTunes Top 100 in both educational and personal development categories. That's a big deal, considering how many podcasters we have out there, because it's close to 5 million now. So that's a pretty big deal.
Let me add something there, though. It happened by accident. It happened by, I'll stop interrupting, but yeah, I just snapped it together in 2019. I'm kind of like, I'll get to it when I get to it. And now we're in the top 1/10 of 1%. And a lot of podcast experts are like, you made all these mistakes. We still don't know how you did it. So for people listening, when you're passionate about something, just go do it and let the universe take care of the rest.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, let's just continue with, would love to hear your backstory, because I'm always curious about stories and I love to hear people's stories, because that's how we learn as humans, right?
Absolutely.
So how did you get to where you are today?
I'll condense this very, very quickly, but in my 20s, out of college, I was chasing, this is back in the 80s, chasing money and success and all these kind of things. I had a little money out of college. I invested it with an entrepreneur, lost all of my money, turned out to be a con person, flipped me upside down, bad credit, sleeping on a buddy's couch, everything. And I said, how do people come back from this? And I started studying motivational speakers, Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, people like that. I needed more. And also I grew up a small town Texas farm boy. We had no money. So I went to college and felt like, okay, I'm doing something. So my life was flipped upside down. And I said, how do people get back from this? And I started studying the motivational speakers and reading a lot of books, but it wasn't changing me on the inside. It was giving me information, but not changing me. I started studying neurolinguistics, NLP. I'm an NLP master trainer. The same person who taught Tony Robbins taught me. A component of NLP is hypnosis, and it's a way to change both behavior and thought processes. I started studying that. I learned that for 3 years. In the late 90s, I worked for the Hypnosis Institute in New York City. From there, I went into, what do I do to transform myself? I know the hypnosis, I've got tools, but what about my own psychology? And I started studying transformational psychology. So I put together the brain science, the NLP, the hypnosis, and I started shifting. But here's the thing, I started shifting my subconscious identity, because everything is identity. And until we shift that, nothing will change. Prior to you asking me about my backstory, you and I talked very briefly. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, is a shaman. They were the medicine men in Native American tribes, and I've worked by his side. He started when he was 6 years old in Mexico. I've worked by his side for 28 years now. So I've just put together programs that merge brain science, transformational psychology, and ancient wisdom into transformation of ourselves so that we can evolve and grow. That's how I got here.
Love that. No, that's a great story. I mean, because from now you have coached and mentored global superstars from diverse walks of life, business, sports, entertainment, politics, global affairs. I mean, you really have been doing quite a lot. So when you have a new client that comes to you, what is the journey that you take them on? Could you just
I don't take one-to-one clients anymore. We only do group programs. I started the transformational coaching program in 2018 and we exploded. We blew the roof off. I mean, we did a webinar, offered it for $2,000 a person. We sold out in 7 minutes, and we capped it at 50 and sold out. And every year, boom, 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 we just doubled in size. And so what we do is we take people through a 13-week process with myself and my coaches, an interactive community to help them shift their subconscious identity. I'm not taking anything away from anyone, but a lot of programs people go to, they might go for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, maybe five. And then before you know it, you go home and you're all pumped up, but you're back to your old patterns again. So what we wanted to do is immerse people into core level identity change. Our identity is our self-image, how we see ourselves, health, money, relationships, everything. So we take people through a 13-week process collectively as a group. Why? Because of social learning, and we learn from each other, and we help them shift who they are at a core foundational level. So that's the process we use. I don't do one-to-one anymore. I used to. We get amazing results in our group work.
Wow, that's incredible. So I understand what you're talking about, but can you explain to the audience what you mean by this personal identities that we have and how
Yeah.
there's identities that we're creating for ourselves, how those are impacting our day-to-day life, really?
They don't impact, they control our
They
day-to-day
control
life.
it,
No,
right?
no, I mean, no, I
Yeah.
understand your question now. And that we learn to become who we are. We're born, as John Locke, the British philosopher, said, we're born as a blank slate. We come in the world, society gets a hold of us, our parents get a hold of us, church gets a hold of us, schools get a hold of us, civilization gets a hold of us and tells us who and what we can do and plants all these limitations in our thought processes. We learn these through observation and we become these. A great example is me. I grew up in a small town, a small farm town in Texas. We grew up poor. My dad was an auto body mechanic and a farmer. We didn't have any money. I mean, today it would be a family of five living on about $45,000 per year. And I
Wow.
always said, I want more. I want more. I put myself through college. And after college, I went to college, graduated private school, 2 degrees, and I still struggled with money. But see, what I'm saying now applies to everyone listening. It can be health, it can be money, it can be relationships, it can be whatever it is. So my struggle was money. And many people have multiple struggles. Mine was money. And I literally read 5,000 books in my 20s, no exaggeration. And I read every book on money and business and success, and I was always broke. Of course, I spent a lot of money on books. And I recognized this is why I started the NLP training that I talked about in the hypnosis, till I shifted how I see myself at a subconscious level, nothing will change for me. And I had to shift my subconscious identity that I learned as a child. The identity was we are broke, we are poor, we don't have that, we'll never be like that. You have to struggle for money, money's hard to come by. These were things that I lived by below the level of my awareness. I lived them subconsciously and they sabotaged me and controlled me everywhere. And until I identified those and let those go, I was always trapped no matter what I did or how hard I worked or how educated I became. I was always trapped by the identity. Same thing applies to relationships. This is why people might learn bad models, unhealthy models of relationships as kids by watching their parents. They repeat the patterns. Same thing with weight. I had a client one time. She was overweight for 30 years. She goes, I'm Italian. As a kid, I learned that's what we do. We eat as Italians. And then she wondered why, 35 years later, she couldn't stop eating all the time. What we learn at a very foundational level, ages 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, is what we become subconsciously. We live that our entire life until we change that, which is what I help people do.
I love it. All right. So when you have someone, because this is some of the work that I've had to do myself,
Mhm.
is on the conversation around money because we didn't have money either growing
Yeah,
up. And I've had to work, very consciously
right.
to remove those blocks. Is there like what do you say to somebody? Like how do you uncover that? Is it just through the NLP? Because that's on my list of things that I'd like to dive into more is NLP training.
Sure.
Because I'm very fascinated by it. And so how do you work somebody through that process?
Mine was working, let's go a different direction, but to answer, was
Okay.
working with a shaman, my brother in law.
Okay.
And he literally would be the kind of shaman, a real shaman you would find like down in the Amazon for real. And he
Okay.
started when he was 6 years old. And he always talked to me about what I call cosmic connection, universal connection. Everything is energy, that is physics. Money is energy. This pen is energy. My
Yes.
phone is energy. This body is neutrons, protons, electrons. It's energy. Everything is energy. And our thoughts are energy. And we have to learn to manage our thoughts, but our thoughts come from our identity. My identity was I'm poor, I'm poor, I'm poor. We have to completely re educate ourselves. A guy that I knew, also a well known hypnotist, I heard him say one time that people often ask him if it's hard to hypnotize people. And he says, no, that's easy. It's hard to get them out of hypnosis. Because as a kid, we learn all these models of the world and then we hold them for a lifetime. I have to actually, through identity work, help people tear those models down. A
Right.
couple of simple things. What a lot of us work from, I did, is men scoff at this. Women will admit it. Men will scoff, but almost everyone does. Suffers from low self esteem and low self value, meaning I'm not worth it. Here's my product. It's actually magnets. I'm just kidding. They're on my desk. I use them for a demonstration. But let's say I sell these. Okay, people struggle with, well, I can't sell them for what they're worth or what I think they're worth because people won't pay me that. So they project their money limitations onto people, and so we learn these and we think we don't deserve things, and especially expensive things. We couldn't have that. So, especially when we grow up without money, you can probably relate to, we can't metaphorically see ourselves having those things because we can't see it. It's not part of our identity. And we have to start re educating everything you've learned, everyone listening. Most everything you've learned about the world is backwards. This is why we live in the United States. 80% of the population is overweight. 90% of people don't have any money. 87% of people live paycheck to paycheck, but yet we have tons of opportunity. Why? Because we're educated backwards. I've got to flip all that around and re educate forward.
Hmm. So, what is the education that we're receiving backwards? Can you dive into that a little bit?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. And that's a really profound and deep question. Saint Germain said if humans understood how the universe worked, they would cease to believe in miracles. And that okay. Is that Saint Germain on there? Or who is that? Okay. Yeah, Saint Germain.
Well, this is about Saint Germain. This whole
Yeah.
book, The Violet Flame. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we understood how the universe worked, we would cease to believe in miracles. So we're born onto this planet a blank slate, and we're born pure potential and opportunity. I'm going to use the word, we incarnate into a body as an energy. This is physics. So we come as pure potential. The world gets a hold of you metaphorically, puts a bag over your head, and says, we're going to write all of your identities on this bag. These identities are Christian, Muslim, American, Russian, Australian, poor, black, white, gay, straight, rich, young, old, bad, good. All these identities are written on us as children. We own the identity, and we have to go back and recognize we are none of those identities. We are pure potential. This is science. We are consciousness. Consciousness creates everything, every single thing on the planet. You listening and everyone listening right now, if you didn't have consciousness in your body, you'd be a dead bag of skin. You're not a dead bag of skin because you have energy. Proof, an EEG and an EKG. We have to understand who we are at a fundamental level. And what we are is we are all born creators with free will. Now we have to decide where we're going to place that free will and where we're going to invest it.
I love this. I love this conversation. So I love that you said that we're born with a blank slate, because I
Yeah.
do really believe that. And I've talked about that many, many times in my books and stages and whatnot, that society gets to us and ruins everything for us. But what about, and I do believe that we're born with that blank slate, but what about some of this talk of generational trauma that's carried through our DNA.
Yeah, there's two places to go with that. One is spiritual, one is scientific.
Okay.
Spiritual is that nothing dies. This is physics, the law of the conservation of energy and the law of the conservation of matter. Right now, you are an energy being, but you're in a container, which is the skin you're in.
My body.
This is your right. This is your identity. Now, when the body ceases to exist, the energy continues on. Okay. Now I'm going to step out here a little bit because
Okay.
I don't know your entire audience, even though we've talked and done different things,
It's okay.
is that we incarnate in the bodies and we bring energies with us into the incarnation. This is why we have soul missions when we come. I call it
Yeah.
Dharma, things we're supposed to
Yes.
do when we get here. We also travel in soul clans together, working out karma and are traveling together soulfully over many, many lifetimes. I know some people are like, what? Well, I'm telling the truth. I'm looking at
Yeah.
physics. Okay. I am.
This
We're
is
talking
the way it
physics.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the way it is. But notice how humanity has been conditioned that we are only 3D physical beings, and all you can do is operate by what you have. Things right in front of you and mechanical. That's not true. So back to the question. Where was I going there? What was the question? I'm sorry. Oh yeah,
Generational
generational
trauma.
trauma.
Yeah.
Okay. So we learn it energetically. And the second place to go with this is I've mentioned the person about the person being overweight, the woman that I'd mentioned, an
Mm-hmm.
actual client. So when she came to me 25 years ago for hypnosis, I said, how long have you been overweight? She's probably 40. She goes, since I was a child. And then she said, that's all I ever heard in our house is that we eat. She learned it. So that's the second way is we learn it. But a third way is what are we carrying in our genes? But what I want to point out is we have been misled to believe that, for example, I had a guy on my podcast, Dr. Bruce Lipton. Do you know who he is?
Yes.
You would love, if not, you would love Bruce's work. Bruce Lipton.
I I may have interviewed him. I have to look, but if not, I'm going to write his name down and
He's a big
reach out
deal,
to him.
Dr. Bruce Lipton. But, and my brother in law, the shaman, has told me this. We on the planet think that, oh, okay, I have like, it's in my DNA. We have heart disease in my family. Not me, but as an example, we have heart disease in our family. We have cancer in our family. We have alcoholics in our family. We don't inherit, we do inherit the genes, but actually epigenetics, the way we talk to ourselves determines what the genes do. There is no cancer gene, according to Bruce Lipton, okay? And my brother in law, the shaman, and he's a healer. He doesn't work as a CPA during the week and people come on the weekend. That's what he does. He's a healer. We've been in power spots all over the planet, inside the Great Pyramids for 2 nights, in Teotihuacan and Chichen Itza and Haleakala and Uluru and all this Chaco Canyon. He's a healer. And he's like, here's the thing. When we come to the planet, we do carry and drag some karma with us. But the thing is this, many people let the past own them. They let their past identity own them. And here's the thing. The truth is we have choice and we have free will, and we don't have to drag our past with us no matter what it is. And then when we heal ourselves, we heal other people around us in past generations and future generations.
Mm, I love that. It's such a complicated
Mm-hmm.
topic,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's it in many ways. It's sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around it. But when you were talking about, you know, soul clans traveling together and whatnot, when my son who was a miracle baby, all right, I was
Mm.
told I would never have children.
And you did.
And I did
Yeah.
without scientific help. And
Yeah.
he was totally natural. He was probably 3 years old, and it was just weird. This lasted a couple of weeks, and he started asking me, and I'd never talked about this to him. Maybe he heard it on
Yeah.
television. I have no idea. He started asking me about reincarnation. He was
Yeah.
3 years old.
He
Could
remembers.
barely get the yep, he remembered it. He could barely get the word out. And we were sitting there one night watching a movie, and he looked at me and he goes, he's like, Mommy, you and I were married a really, 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 really long time ago.
Yeah.
And I go, were we? And he's like, yeah, we were. I was like, okay. And we just started watching the movie, and I'm just sitting there going, what is happening?
Yeah.
because I knew what was happening. But I'd heard about this, but and I'm getting chills right now. I'm experiencing this firsthand with my child. Couple weeks later, so he was it was right around the time I was starting to potty train him, because I was told with little boys, just wait till they're 3, because
Okay.
otherwise they're slower than girls. Just wait till they're 3. I'm
We
like,
are slower
okay,
than women, so I
yeah.
admit
So
it.
I was like, okay. So I waited till after he turned 3, and I was still changing a diaper of his, and he looked up to me, and this was in July. Okay, so he wasn't even 3 yet. This was right before he. And as I'm changing his diaper, I started hearing the song, "Here Comes Santa Claus, Here Comes
Hmm.
Santa Claus." At that very second, I'm hearing the song. He looks up at me and he asked me, "Mommy, when is Santa Claus coming?"
He's reading the energy. He's gifted.
He's very gifted. But then I was like, well, is it me or is it him? Right? Because of course I wouldn't think it's me, right?
Well,
But
he's picking it up from you. He's reading your
right.
energy. When
Yeah.
As we get older, we learn to shut that part of our mind down. Meaning we learn to think analytically, because in our world we live in, we are rewarded for achievement and materialism. Get a good education, all these kind of things you have to do. And smart people get ahead in the world and all these kind of things. We are rewarded for how smart we are. But the truth is, like in shamanism, it's about not thinking and sensing, coming from higher function of mind. Because when we go into analytical mind, left brain, physical organic brain, think, 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 that shuts down all higher levels of consciousness. Now, many people might call that, well, my intuition. Yes, but it's deeper than that. And we have to learn to listen to that, because that'll guide us everywhere we need to go. And your son, by the way, tell him congratulations. I know he graduated from college recently, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
tell him congratulations.
Thank you,
But
Jim.
these kids also, let me go somewhere else here, if you don't mind,
Please.
is that we're evolving as a species. Now, who knows where these episodes are going to go when I'm on them, but we're evolving as a species. And prior to 1960, it was a different energy on the planet. Let me give you a metaphor. I use Apple, but many people use PC, Windows.
Mhm.
And we had Windows 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. I don't know what Windows we're on now, but each one is an upgraded operational system.
Just like
All
the
right.
iPhone. Yeah.
Exactly. So prior to 1960, and Don Javier shared all this with me, we came at one level of consciousness. And then in the 60s, the consciousness started upgrading to where we started having what have been named the indigo kids, those that are more gifted or a little more aware. Now, the reason a lot of us got trapped like in the 80s is because we're not fully awake yet, like a puppy waking up. And then he said in the 80s, which your son was born after the 80s, that's when a higher level of the indigo kids have come, and they're higher functioning and they're higher frequency. They're bringing a new consciousness to the planet.
Right.
This is why at our age category, we're like, duh, I don't get it. And a kid's like, boom, boom, mom, dad, get it, get it. And we're like, how did you see that? How did you know that? How are you so compassionate? How are you so wise? I'm 3 times your age and you're smarter than I
Right.
am. Do you
Right.
know what I'm talking about? The kids are at
Completely.
higher level of function right now. We are in the process of planetary consciousness shifting to higher levels of function of the human species.
Mm, love that. Okay, so
Didn't
I
mean to
remember
hijack
the
you.
whole that. No, I love it. No, this is great. This is my kind of conversation. So the interesting thing is that I knew that um, we were heading into. I'm going to shift gears here a little bit.
Sure.
We were heading in. We're in, and I don't know if we're heading into it or if we. I heard we are in it, but I feel like you may be more of an expert on this than I am. That we're now in the age of Aquarius. That
We,
things have
we are
shifted.
we are in it, but we're in an evolution of human consciousness. We are in it, and this is why you see, and I can already sense you're going to go there, but this is why I think this is what no I sense this is why you see governments collapsing, economies collapsing, social structures collapsing, old 3D. When I say 3D, third dimension, human constructs of power and control and money and society are collapsing because it's like a snake shedding its skin. We are evolving out of that old skin of humanity. So right now we are in that age of Aquarius, as you mentioned, but it's simply an evolution of consciousness on the planet.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
but this is why this is really important. The world is in chaos, as we know. I mean,
Yes.
literally, whether it be political, all over the world, economic, you see the right fighting the left, and even the divisions in the world. Now, the worst thing that we can do is metaphorically pick up a gun and fight. Metaphorically, okay? Meaning,
Right.
oh, I'm going to pick this side or that side. That's all bag of skin 3D human. We need to evolve out of that, let humans play their little game and say, you know what, not that we're arrogant or anything. We need to work from, you know what, I recognize that we're evolving out of this. We're growing out of this. And I'm going to stay out of this fray that people are in, staying out of the fear, staying out of the chaos, not contributing to all these kind of things that are actually tearing humanity apart and keeping us from evolving. So we need to raise our own consciousness, which means going inside instead of going outside and giving all of our power to the world and the old structures that are crumbling.
Oh my gosh.
Did that make
So
sense?
amazing. Totally, totally
Okay.
makes sense. And I love how you explain that because I'm also seeing it like what you were describing is kind of on a macro level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm noticing on a micro level in a big way right now. Like, I can't tell you, there's been multiple relationships that have gone sour
Yeah.
in a shocking ways that I'm like, and I just, okay, I'm going to stay in consciousness. I'm
Yep.
not going to respond,
Yep.
right? And it's happening more frequently right now. And because I think it's interesting because I was just on a friend of mine's podcast and we were having this conversation. I had a conversation earlier with somebody about this. I have a big keynote speech next week for a federal contractor in Washington, D.C., where I will be talking about conscious leadership. And I feel like, and I want to see your thoughts on this, for decades we always hear survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
I feel like right now that's where we are. And it's survival of the fittest in the terms of consciousness. Because if you don't have that level of consciousness, you're going to be left behind because the world is changing so rapidly right now that we can't even keep up with the technology.
We talked about that prior to starting our
Yeah.
conversation. And where I
Yeah.
work from is that if you look at branches on any tree, but on a large tree, branches on a tree don't fight each other and kill each other. We're all branches on the same tree. And what we're doing right now is because there's so much chaos, now the brain kicks in and the reptilian part of the brain, the oldest part of the brain. And many people are going into fight, flight, and survival mode right now. We're seeing this in the world. I choose not to get into that. I don't know how long I'm going to be on the planet. It could be a day, it could be 40 years. I don't know. But I'm not getting into that level of brain based fight or flight survival. And that this sounds really, 1960s Woodstock, but we've got to learn to love each other because when we love each other, we're loving ourselves and we're all part of the same species. We're all here doing our work together. We've got to learn to love ourselves. We got to learn to love other people and accept other people as well. But that goes all the way around the planet to every single person here, but not everyone's there. Let me give you a metaphor here. Don Javier, my brother-in-law, the shaman, gave me this. Let's say we're all on a train, all of humanity, and there are some people sitting in the front of the train, and they're going to arrive first. There are other people in the back of the train, and they're going to arrive later, but we're all on the train home. So the way I look at it, if we're all on the train home, why would I be beating somebody else up on the train that might not be where I am on the train? I wouldn't do that because we're all going the same direction. That's how I keep my peace. Is I know we're all here learning our lessons. We're all heading the same direction. Who can I support?
I love that because it's a collective consciousness.
100%. And we don't even recognize it as a species. We create I'd like to use more emphatic words, but all this crap on the planet we've created it through collective consciousness. We've
Yep.
created it through commercialization. Not that I'm a capitalist, I get that, but I'd like to think I'm pretty compassionate. But something that's so outdated in our species that we get into is competition. And we shouldn't be collaborating, because when we get into competition, what we're saying is there's not enough in the world. There's plenty in the world and always has been plenty in the world. But what we do is we compete when there's still plenty, because we want more and more. We want to hoard. What I look at is what I want for me is what I want for you. I want peace, abundance, and prosperity for me. I also want that for you, and I'm not going to compete against you to get that. And we also, the final addendum to this comment, when we work from that place, that is our consciousness, a concept called sympathetic resonance. Energy seeks its own frequency. This is proven in music, okay? Hit an A chord on the piano over here, the A chord of the piano over there will vibrate. When we're operating at higher levels of consciousness, we automatically rise above all this mass noise and chaos and fear and all that, and we're not in it. So we're not fighting it anymore, which is what a lot of people are doing.
So when you're saying competition, are you referring, because this affects me personally?
Yeah.
Does it? Are you talking about like people competing for the same job, or you feel in competition with your girlfriend, or are you talking about sports? Because I'm a huge sports fanatic and I
Oh, I
love
get
playing
that. No, that's
tennis.
fun. That's like human entertainment. That's human entertainment. Okay. No,
Because I'm like, please don't tell me I can't play tennis anymore.
no. That's we as humans, we love entertainment. That's just part of our makeup and our evolution. Okay.
Okay.
No, what I mean is, and I can be that way. I was, an athlete in high school and college and all that. What I look at though is, are we fighting for money? Are we fighting for jobs?
Mm,
Are we fighting for, like Putin is doing, for real estate? I mean, dogs fight
right.
over real estate. Okay. Are we
Right.
fighting for political ideology? Are we fighting for my way over your way? This is all competition, and
Got
there's
it.
plenty on the planet. People don't recognize how abundant this planet is, but then what a lot of people do, because they're working from old models of consciousness, they're actually they're destroying a lot of the planet, which is our home. Where are we going to live, as long as we're on the planet, if we destroy the home we're living in?
Right.
I don't know where you intended to go in this episode, and it went where it went, and it's going where it's going.
It just goes
But
where it goes, Jim.
but people listening, we have to we have to evolve ourselves. We have to grow ourselves, because when we do that, all the things we want as a human being. I live in Sedona, Arizona. It's very pricey to live here. I live in a brand new, almost 5,000 square foot home, luxury home. I have a nice home in town. I drive a Porsche. I mean, I like fun, nice things. They
Mhm.
don't define me. I don't own them. I didn't come to the planet with them.
Right.
They are
Right.
just toys. They are things. So the way that I look at it is, let me grow and evolve. And as I grow and evolve, I deserve the fun and the nice dinners and the trips and all that. I
Yeah.
deserve that, but it's not who I am. I've simply created it out of my consciousness. I tell people, I even wrote a lead magnet on this. You know what that word is, a lead
Mhm.
magnet.
Yeah.
We're taught to work so hard. You have to, which is how I grew up. You got to struggle for everything. You have to work hard.
That's
Work hard
resistance.
puts most people in the grave well before their age. And then I look at, for example, people will say, well, what about Jeff Bezos? And I'm like, he might have worked hard, but he was working aligned with his identity and his vision. So it wasn't work, it was a labor of love. That's a whole different thing than digging ditches, which is what people are told to do. You got to put there's I'm not going to mention any names, but people will say, you got to put your nose to the grindstone. You got to hustle. You got to work till your eyeballs bleed. These people, seemingly, they're doing great things for other people, trying to lead them, but they're actually hurting people into old models and old ways of being. Evolve is the key, and then evolve, and then know what you want to create in the world. And it starts coming to you.
I love that. Yeah, because I learned earlier this year, because I've been doing a lot more work on myself. We go through periods of time
Sure.
and,
Yeah.
and okay,
Yeah.
let's do a little bit more work here. And I realized, because I was taught you have to work hard. And
Yeah.
what I realized is that
Our
I just
generation
was
was, sorry to interrupt, but our
right.
generation was, you got to work hard.
Gotta work
Yeah.
hard. And so I'd come in here every day and I'm just sitting here finding stuff to do and just working. And I'm like, nothing's really happening. And once I realized that that mentality of working hard is actually resisting, I'm actually pushing,
Yeah.
I'm pushing. Right.
You're telling
And
the
all of a
universe you
sudden,
don't have it also.
right. Yeah. And now it's like I've completely changed. And yeah, there's days, will I sit here for 10 hours some days? Absolutely. But I'm loving every second of it.
Yeah.
I'm in flow, because I'm in alignment and it's like things just flow. And when there's nothing to do, I'm like, okay, I watch tennis matches on TV.
Notice what you said. You're in alignment. That's an
Yeah.
overused word. I use it too, but people understand the word. But here's the
Right.
thing: where I work from is, and I talk about this in my podcast a lot. The number one question we can ask ourselves is, "What am I to do while I'm on the planet?" Everyone comes with a mission. What am I to do? And I find when I get outside that alignment, things become hard. When I get
Yes.
in that alignment, meaning things that I love to do, I love to do what I'm doing right now. I love to coach in my coaching programs. From what I hear, I'm pretty decent at it, at least from my students. I don't know, but it happens very easily for me. But when I do things that I'm like, I don't really want to do that. It's not part of my, like I have the money. I could invest in a lot of different things, stocks and all these things. I don't, because I don't enjoy doing it. I mean, I'm fortunate to have some financial wherewithal. I can't, I know my lane, and my
Right.
lane is helping people grow and evolve. I stay in my lane because that is my dharma. And I tell people, for example, Mother Teresa, she didn't come to the planet to teach people how to buy real estate, no money down. She didn't come to the planet to teach how to buy real estate out of probate. She came to the planet to be the example that she is. She lived her example, and look what happened. When you get aligned, things open up for you easily and automatically, at least in my experience.
I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. And it's interesting because I've had more people on in the last couple of weeks talk about Dharma.
Dharma.
So there's definitely a shift going on.
Dharma
Yeah.
is my soul mission, meaning the word is my soul mission.
Right.
What are my responsibilities? What did I come here to do? And my dharma is, and I never would have thought this years ago, but working with a shaman for 28 years, my dharma is, and this sounds a little arrogant, and I apologize, but to guide people and help them wake up. I don't like that word, but I use it for explanation, but to help people find more, which is how this whole conversation has been, of their own power in themselves. Because when they find the power in themselves, they don't need it from money. They don't need it from the government. They don't need it from social structures. They don't need it from a lot of different things we have in society. They don't need it. They follow those things because they think they need them. This morning, I wrote down when I got in the car, it's something you've heard for many years, and we all heard it as a kid on The Wizard of Oz. When Dorothy was in the balloon and she wanted to go back to Kansas, and the wizard told her something along the lines, and when people get this, it'll blow their mind. Everything you need is already inside of you.
Yeah.
Everything you need is already inside. But what we do is we look, well, I'm broke. I need help. I need new clients. I need new business. Or I'm physically sick. I need a doctor. I need a doctor. And if you have trauma, go to a doctor. I was near dead in 2020. I had both heart failure and a stroke the same year. I'm
Oh my
perfectly
gosh.
healthy now. I mean, I don't look like I'm not sick at all. I'm perfectly healthy
Wow.
because I know how to heal, because we all have that power. But yet the world we live in tells us, take this pill, go to this doctor, do this, do that, and all these things. I'm not anti-pharma and anti-medicine and all that. I'm not. But here's the thing. If you need medical help, get it. But then what I would tell people to do is transition over to, you are the healing. No healing comes from a pill. It comes from your consciousness. This is why people think it comes from a pill. Then why do people take antidepressants and they're still depressed? Healing and everything is on the inside. Money is on the inside. I'm sorry, I'm on a roll. I'll shut up.
I love it. No, Jim, this has been an incredible conversation. I could talk to you for hours, but we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Is there anything else that you didn't talk about that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, meaning in terms of helping more people and giving them something here?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. What I've done is I created last year a program called Get Unstuck. And it was originally titled the Be to Have series. We have to be before we can have, before we can do. Now, most people think being is like being things in the physical world. We don't understand what it means to even be a human being. We are human doings. When we understand what it means to be a being, we understand the power. I created a 9-day challenge. We sold them for $79. I sold thousands. They're not available right now. I'm not selling them, but for people listening, I want to give them the Get Unstuck bundle. It's one program to show them how to get out of their thoughts very, very quickly. And it's the 9-day challenge. We track our metrics. We have a 93% completion rate of people even after day number 9. It takes people apart and shows them this is the core of your being. This is literally what it means to be. And when you can be something at a soulful level, you can create all the health, money, relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever you want. So I'm giving this to people that are listening here. We don't give it away. It's $97, but I'm giving it to listeners here. The way to get that is to go to my Instagram. I am Jim Fortin. I am Jim Fortin on Instagram. DM me the word happiness. So go to
Okay.
Jim Fortin. I am Jim Fortin. DM me the word happiness. When you
Okay.
DM me that word, I or someone on my team will respond. We'll get you all set up and we'll get you enrolled in the Get Unstuck program. Plus, you'll get the Master Thought Formula training with that as well. It's basically showing you how to change your thoughts very, very quickly. One final comment on that. We tend to negate and not appreciate what's free in life. That's part of human nature. And especially listening to a podcast, often we think, it's just some bonus they slapped together, pulled it out of the closet and threw it out. This is, from what I understand, extraordinarily helpful to people. So please take this seriously. Go get it, go download it, listen to the 9 days, and do what I instruct you to do to better understand what it means to be, because that's what you are, a being, and all power is there.
Boom. Mic drop. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Sandee. I've had
That
a
was
blast.
awesome.
I've had a
Thank you
blast with
so
you.
much. Good, good. Well, we can do it anytime. Always happy to, if you just want to have a cup of coffee and chat, I'll be
Whenever
there
you
with you.
want.
All right. Folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Go to Jim's Instagram. I am Jim Fortin. It'll be in the show notes as well. DM him the word happiness and take advantage of that free gift because it sounds amazing. I think I may be DMing you too.
Do it.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day and take care.
Thanks, everyone.